Solutions to linear equations in two variables are also often shown on a Cartesian coordinate system, or what you might remember as being a graph. And it looks like one of my graph lines disappeared. I miscopied, so let me put that back in here real quick. That's what happens when I try to blow it up in the copy machine to be able to record from it. So let's talk about how to plot these following points. In all cases, again, the first number you're given is going to be your x-coordinate, and the second is the y. So we're going to plot each one of these points by finding these values on the x and y axes. And it looks like everything I'm asked to graph will fit between a -5 and a +5. On the x-axis, we don't have any x values larger than 5 or smaller than -5. And the same thing for the y. We don't have anything larger than 5 or smaller than -5. So I'm going to number both of these axes. So again, when we did this with inequalities, we had only the x part of the graph. Now that our answers have two numbers, we need our graph to have two dimensions, so we can account for both answers. So to graph the point A, I'm going to go to 0 on my x-axis, so that's right here, and then down to -3 on the y. So that would put the point A right here. The point B at 3, 4, I'm going to come out 3 on the x-axis and then go up 4 on the y. So B would be that point right there. C starts at -2 on the x and goes down to -4 on the y. D starts at a +4 on the x and then stays right here on the x-axis because the value for y is 0. So it's not going to travel up or down from that y-axis. E is the point 1, -2. So I come 1 on x, down 2 on y, and that's where my E will go. And then one final point at -5 on x and a +1 on y is the location of my F. So now let's try these two skills together, where we're going to be substituting in one of these values, either the x value or the y value, solving for the other, and then using those ordered pairs to create points on a graph. So they tell us which value they're going to have us substitute in, and it looks like in this first step we're going to be putting in a -1 in place of our x. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as -3 times -1 plus y equals 1. That gives me 3 plus y equals 1. Subtracting 3 from both sides, I get that y equals -2. So I'll put that -2 answer over here in the y column across from where the -1 was, and then write my answer one more time as an ordered pair. So the -1, -2. Looking at my second point, they're having me substitute in the value 0 for x. So I'll write -3 times 0 plus y equals 1. -3 times 0 is 0. So y equals 1, giving me the ordered pair 0, 1. One last point to check. sometimes instead of giving you a starting value for x, they might give you a starting value for y instead. So in this instance, I'm going to write negative 3x plus 5, putting the 5 in where the y used to be, and then setting it equal to 1. Then I'll subtract 5 from both sides and get that negative 3x is equal to a negative 4. I'll divide both sides by negative 3, and I get x equals 4/3. And that 4/3 will come back over here on my t-table to go in for the x value. And then I'll write my final answer as an ordered pair. The next thing that we're going to do is put each one of these points onto our graph. So first we'll plot the point -1, -2. I'm going to do that by coming out to -1 on my graph and then down to -2. And there's my first spot. The next one is found at 0, 1. So I'm not moving at all on the x-axis. I'm staying right here at the origin and then going up 1 on the y-axis. The final point is at 4/3 and 5. So first think about where 4/3 would fall. Well, if we were on just a regular number line here, and these are the points 1 and 2, 1 is the same thing as 3/3, 2 is the same thing as 6/3. So 4/3 is going to fall somewhere about right there, in between the 1 and the 2, probably slightly closer to the 1. So on my graph, here's my 1 and 2 on the x values. So 4/3 is going to be somewhere about right here. Then the y value says I need to go up 5. So when I go up to the 5th place and out the 4/3, my final point will be somewhere around right there. Last thing I'm going to do is label these points. That way, just in case I'm off a little bit on my graph, the reader can know where I intended for that point to fall. So that's the point 0, 1, and that one right there is the point -1, -2.